Don't pay a dime to Portfolio Recovery Associates this year. If you're in collections with Portfolio Recovery, I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't pay them a dime, what you should do instead. My name is Mike Waslick. I'm one of the lawyers here at Ricardo & Waslick here in Florida, and together with my partner Jason Ricardo, when debt collectors give you hell, we help you give it back. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly why you should not pay a dime to Portfolio Recovery Associates if they're trying to collect money from you, and most importantly, the steps you can take, what you should do instead. The first and most important thing you need to know about Portfolio Recovery is who are they? Portfolio Recovery Associates is a debt collector and debt buyer. They're part of the billion-dollar corporation publicly traded PRA Group that buy debt across the US, Canada, and Europe. They make over $1 billion every year buying debt and collecting it from people like you. But they don't make all that money without getting in some trouble too. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has sued them twice, once in 2015 and once again in 2023, alleging all kinds of law-breaking, violations of federal debt collection law, and most importantly, those allegations were serious enough that the CFPB fined them $12 million in 2023 alone. But that fine was no more than a speeding ticket for PRA. They're still out there doing business, buying bad debt for pennies on the dollar and trying to squeeze nickels, dimes, and even quarters out of people just like you, making $1 billion a year for the last several years alone with that business model. Now, if portfolios in your life, there's 3 ways they might be affecting you. Number 1, communications. They might be sending you letters, they might be making phone calls, they might be sending text messages or even emails trying to collect money from you. The second way portfolio might be showing up in your life is on your credit report. When Portfolio buys debts from credit card companies and other lenders, they might then appear on your credit report as a collection claiming that you owe money to them, even though you've never had a business agreement with them at all. And the third way that Portfolio might be showing up in your life is through court action. Portfolio sues thousands of people just across the state of Florida every year and many more across the country. There are 2 ways that these lawsuits make them money. First, they get judgments against people who don't know how to respond, don't respond properly, don't respond in time, or don't respond at all. Once they get those judgments, they'll wait. They'll watch your credit reports, they'll watch the other financial indicators, and they'll wait until you're making money again, or they think you have money that they can take from you. And then they'll try to garnish wages, seize bank accounts, or seize other property. Now, the second way that Portfolio makes money off these cases is when people show up to court, but because they're afraid or ashamed or having other strong emotions that prevent them from thinking clearly, they're just going to agree to some settlement agreement, whether it's a years-long payment plan or a lump sum they can't really afford. They're just going to sign on the dotted line because they're told or they believe that they don't have any other option. And those settlement agreements, whether it's a large lump sum or a payment plan that'll take years to pay off, oftentimes those are a lot more money than Portfolio could get out of you if you knew the right way to respond to a lawsuit. Because the worst part is, most people, if they knew how to properly respond, they wouldn't have to pay Portfolio at all. And that's what I'm going to tell you next, how to deal with Portfolio without having to pay them a dime. First of all, if you're getting communications, you want to put aside those emotions that those letters, those phone calls, those text messages stir up in you. You want to put those emotions aside, think clearly, and realize that you have certain options about how to handle every communication you get from a debt collector. One option is to simply ignore them. It's not always the best option, but if you're getting a letter, it's easy to just put that aside. A phone call, you can block their number. A text message you can delete or tell them to stop contacting you. Emails you can send to spam, and sometimes ignoring it works. The second option is a little bit better. You can collect all those communications, save them, and carefully review them for violations. Every debt collector is subject to the FDCPA, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and that's a federal law that dictates how debt collectors are allowed to communicate with you, what they can say, and most importantly, what they can't say when they're trying to collect a debt from you. So if you save those letters, keep a phone log of every time they call you, save any voicemails, text messages, or even emails, you can see if Portfolio has broken the law when they're communicating with you about the debt they're trying to collect from you. If you want to know more about how debt collectors violate the law, we'll talk a little bit more about violations later in this video. Now, there's a third option depending on what kind of communications you are getting. If this is the first communication you've got from a debt collector, you're probably receiving something in writing called the Model Validation Notice, and it looks something like the form I'm going to put on screen now. And that form gives you information about the debt, who you supposedly owe, how much you you owe, when you've owed it from, and most importantly, it tells you about your right to dispute the debt and ask for validation. So if you're not quite sure about the debt, if you don't know if the amount is right, or maybe you're not the right person they should be collecting the debt from, you can ask for more information from the debt collector. Now, if you're not quite sure what to put in that letter requesting validation, if you're not quite sure what to say or what that letter should look like, I want you to look at the link in the description below. We offer a packet of letters and we tell you how to use them and what to say in them when you're asking for validation. Now, the reason you might want to do that is it gives you the information you need to determine if a debt collector is lying to you about the amount of the debt, if they're lying about the person they're trying to collect it from, and it also gives you important legal rights. And the information in that link is going to explain everything much more thoroughly than I can do in this video today. And the fourth option you have when you're responding to communications from a debt collector is you can ask them to stop. We call that a cease and desist, and it's a written request that they stop communicating with you about the debt. The only thing they're allowed to do is acknowledge that they're stopping the debt, or they might respond if you've also combined that with a request for verification. They might provide you that information, but then they have to stop communicating with you altogether. And again, if you're wondering how to request that or what to say in a letter, you're going to follow the link in the description below where we give you sample letters and lay it all out for you. Now, there is one possible downside of sending a cease and desist. If they're not already credit reporting and you cut off all communications, that might inspire your debt collector to start reporting on your credit. So if that's a concern, weigh very carefully whether you want them to stop communicating with you or whether you'd prefer to keep those lines of communication open. What do you do if portfolio is on your credit? Well, first of all, you want to make sure that you're looking at your actual original credit reports, going to annualcreditreport.com and making sure you have the original credit reports direct from each of the 3 bureaus. If you use some third-party source like Credit Karma or some other third-party monitoring, it may not be up to date, it may not be accurate, and most importantly, it's going to be hearsay if you ever need to go into court. So it's really important that you get your original 3 credit reports as quickly and efficiently as you possibly can. If you're unsure about how to do that, we have a whole video on how to order your credit reports online. I'm going to drop a link in the description below. Once you've got your credit report, review it very carefully. Identify every time portfolio appears as a separate account on your credit report, and you're going to want to see if there's any inaccuracies in the way they are reported. And the best way to do that is to compare your credit reports to any information you've got from portfolio itself to see if those are consistent, and then you'll want to compare them to your bank accounts and your account statements from the original debt. What you're looking for is any discrepancy in the amount of money they claim you owe, they claim you've paid or not paid over the years, and any dates, whether the dates are correct, the dates you've made payments, the dates you haven't made payments, the dates they opened the account, the date it was transferred to portfolio, any kind of misreporting of the amounts of money that they've received or that you owe, any kind of date that's inconsistent, anything like that. You'll also want to look and see if the original creditor is correctly reported, and most importantly, whether it was your debt to begin with. So what happens if you've reviewed everything and all the dates line up, all the numbers line up, you know it's your account, everything in that report is accurate? What do you do then? What you do next depends on what your situation is. If you have a need to get this off your credit report quickly because let's say you're closing on a home loan, let's say you need to buy a car in the near future, or some other major life change that requires your credit score to be clean, this is one of the few times it's going to make sense to try and settle with portfolio. On their website, they have a policy that if you settle the account in full, even if you don't pay the full amount, but the account is completely settled, they promise that they will remove it from your credit report. That's called a pay for delete. So if you have an urgent need to get something off your credit report and you have some money set aside to take care of the problem, that may be the only time it makes sense to try and reach out with them and offer a payment plan or make some kind of settlement arrangement with them. But what if you find something? When you review the account, you find something that's wrong. Maybe they've misstated the balance. They've overstated the amount that you owe. Maybe they've got dates significantly wrong. Maybe they've misidentified the creditor, or maybe even they've claimed that you owe a debt that doesn't belong to you. Well, that's when you have leverage, because when a debt collector makes a false statement on your credit report, that is a violation of federal law. That's a violation of the FDCPA. That violation is what gives you leverage. I'm going to tell you how to use that leverage when we get to the part about your secret weapon. Now, what happens if portfolio is taking you to court? What should you do to handle court action by portfolio? Whether it's a lawsuit, whether it's wage garnishment, or some post-judgment remedy where you have to cough up a bunch of information and they're going to try and find out where you keep your money so they can take it from you. How should you handle that? And here's where Portfolio's business model works to your advantage. Portfolio, when they go to court, they sue thousands of people across the state of Florida every year for relatively small amounts of money, sometimes as little as $500. What that means is they can't afford to spend a lot of time and lawyer effort fighting every single claim. They're looking for low-hanging fruit. They're looking for the people who don't show up, who don't know how to respond. They're looking for people who don't understand the system, who are afraid of the system, or who just don't participate in it at all. Their business model depends on them gathering the low-hanging fruit, the people who just miss court, the people who settle quickly because they're afraid. And that's what most people do wrong. What should you do instead? Fight. Make it hard for them to get to you. Make it expensive. Make it time-consuming for them to get your money. Now, that doesn't mean you just show up in court and make a lot of demands. You have to know how to fight and when to fight in a way that maximizes your advantage over a company that isn't willing to spend the time and effort to do it right. That means learning the rules of procedure, learning the rules of evidence, and most importantly, learning the facts of your case so that you know how to effectively present it to the judge. If you want to do that on your own, that's fantastic. But if you're in Florida and you decide you don't want to go it alone, you want some help, we offer Florida Help for Florida cases. You can follow the link in the description below to set an appointment with one of our lawyers, get a free telephone consultation, and figure out exactly what you need to do to fight Portfolio in a way that makes sense for you. And here's the best part. If your case qualifies, we give you a money-back guarantee that we will save you money over the best possible settlement that they have offered you. All you have to do is call, and the call is free. Now let's talk about your secret weapon, the FDCPA. When debt collectors like Portfolio break the law, that's when you get the advantage, and that's when you get the leverage, because you can sue them for violating your rights. You can sue them and recover money damages. You can sue them and force them to remove negative items from your credit report, false information from your credit report, and you can make them go away forever. And if you're right and they've really broken the law, then the best part is you won't have to pay a dime for your lawyer either. Your lawyer is free, because when debt collectors break the law, they have to pay your attorney's fees and you don't. Now, we help people all over the state of Florida figure out when Portfolio has broken the law. And when we find a violation, we help those people sue. We help people get total victory over debt collectors like Portfolio Recovery. And what that means is that the debt goes away forever, that Portfolio gets wiped off your credit report forever. And the best part is, not only does Portfolio pay your legal fees, but they also might even put a little bit of money in your pocket. So if that sounds good to you, follow the link in the description below, get your free appointment today. Now, if you're not in Florida or you just want to handle Portfolio on your own, I want you to watch the video I'm going to put on screen now. In that video, we walk through a complaint filed by another debt collector just like Portfolio. This one's going to be Midland. But we walk through that complaint, we expose what the weak spots are, and we tell you the information you need to know in order to win your claim in court against Portfolio. So go ahead and watch that video. Thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you on the next one.